to the republic, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Director Moreno.
Here.
Director Basket.
Here.
Director Clayton.
Here.
Director Adams.
Here.
Director Brown.
Here. We go to item number 1, minutes of the regular meeting held June 22nd, 2020.
I read the minutes and recommend that they be approved. Motion.
I'll second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Moving on to item number 2, committee reports. Aviation support plan.
So we had a meeting of the, I guess it would be the business park committee. We just talked about some real estate issues. So I have nothing to report other than we met and discussed the many issues we're dealing with in the city. We're going to Pioneer Park and some other things. We're going to meet with them. It's a week from tomorrow with the some members of the city council to discuss Pioneer Park with Director Adams and Brown.
And for administration and financial. Oh, okay. We have item number 3, general manager report.
Real quick, just some items to touch on. We've been having a series of meetings with the Plains of Fame this week, talking about the poster behind you for the Airfest, and things are coming together and looking very good. So, just so you know, the week of July 24th, Vernica and I will be out of the office. We'll be attending the Southwest chapter of the American Association of Airport Executives Conference. So we'll be available by phone and email. So other than that, that's it.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 4, manager of finance and administration report.
Thank you, Mr. President. I provided the demand register for your review and approval.
I make a motion to approve.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 5, public session. Statements from the floor will be done by committee section. Request to speak forms are provided for those wishing to address the board. After completing the form, please give it to the clerk. Requests requiring board action will be referred to staff and brought on the next appropriate agenda. Members of the public are personally invited to speak on agenda items as they occur. Staff reports covering agenda items are available for review in the office of the general manager on the Tuesday prior to each meeting. The board will establish a time limit for receipt of testimony. The board reserves the right to establish further time limits for receipt of testimony. So I have a couple here for agenda item number 7. So hold on those.
Any additional?
I will also speak in public session.
Sorry.
I'll also speak in public session.
Would you like to speak now or?
No.
Okay. Moving on to item number 6 then, authorization for 1 director and 2 staff members to attend the Association of California Airports Annual Conference to be held September 12th to the 15th, 2023 in South Lake Tahoe, California.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a conference that staff has attended in the past and found to be very helpful.
I make a motion to approve.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, moving on to item number 7, discussion and direction to staff regarding a hangar wait list application from David Basket. And we do have 2 public session reports here, so. Mr. Basket.
Question is primarily to Director Brown. Brown, you violated your oath. The Constitution of the United States protects my rights and 14th Amendment. Item number 1. Item number 2. As a Santa Maria Airport Director, you failed in your fiduciary duty to be a good steward of public funds. As long as everybody here knows. And number 3. No reason that even Josh has been in court you've caused more than $500,000 unnecessary and unjustified cost of this airport. Number 4, roads are falling apart, buildings are leaking, trash dumpsters and hangars are rusting, runways need refinishing. And recommended actions on methods to reduce birth dangers are not done. Even worse, you've caused a loss of precious time out of our lives on this earth that cannot be replaced or relived. I suggest that you make a motion to stop the damage and restore hangar 3029B to me that protects our historic aircraft tonight. Thank you.
And we have Tom Gibbons.
Good evening, Mr. President, board, staff, public. My name is Thomas G. Gibbons. I was kind of hoping the board would talk about the item so that I don't have to get back up here again and talk about something that you guys bring to my attention. But I kind of prepared for that a little bit. So that people understand the fundamental goal of bankruptcy laws is to give debtors a financial fresh start from burdens of debt. The court official with decision-making power, the judicial officer and bankruptcy judge may decide on matters connected with bankruptcy cases such as eligibility to file, whether the debtor should receive a discharge of debt. Much of the bankruptcy process is administrative, however, it is conducted away from the courthouse. In cases under Chapter 7, 12, 13, and sometimes in Chapter 11 cases, this administrative process is carried out by a trustee. The fundamental goal is to give the debtor a fresh start. The Supreme Court made this point about the purpose of bankruptcy laws in 1934. It gives to the honest but unfortunate debtor a new opportunity in life to clear the field for future effort, unhampered by the pressure and discouragement of pre-existing debt. It prohibits creditors from ever taking any action against the debtor to collect his debt. The publication describes the bankruptcy discharge in question and answer format, discussing the timing of the discharge, the scope of the discharge, what debts are discharged and what debts are not. Objection to discharge and revocation of the discharge also describe what a debtor can do if a creditor attempts to collect a discharge debt after the bankruptcy case is concluded. I sat on a board much like this for over 20 years. We were involved in a groundwater lawsuit that cost millions and millions and millions of dollars. Some of you were involved in it, some of you weren't. I was president of the court when everyone decided to stipulate the settlement. And a stipulation came out. And that stipulation has held the water usage in this valley in check and in balance. And I think it's not a bad idea that someone take the initiative and maybe we can get this airport back on track and deal with aircraft and the other things that we need to deal with. Frankly, I'm disappointed that the tax money was spent like this. But it's what you have to do to get to where you're going. And I hope that we can move on past this and we can kind of close the ranks a little bit and turn this into something that all of us can agree that we need to make some improvements and make this thing produce money instead of cost money. Thank you so very much for the time.
Thank you, Tom.
Okay, we're still on item number 7. So discussion direction staff regarding a hangar weakness application for an investment. Discussion is open. Anyone have any questions? Speak from the board.
Whole policy. That's gonna be fun, you have to hold the death mask on the hand with this. Use for storage of. And then, maybe. And we also have a policy that once you were convicted of that, you have to have a vote of the board to be put back on the hanger waiting list. You know, I think we kicked this down the road far enough. I'd like to bring it to a vote or conclusion on whether we allow them to go back on the hanger waiting list or not. So how would I make that motion?
You could call for make a motion that the board vote on potential approval of Frederick Basket to be placed on the hanger wait list.
Okay, I'd like.
Well, hold on, we're still discussing this.
I can make the motion, so.
Well, give me a second, and let me jump into that, I know that, Mr. Basket's, assets have been liquidated. I know that the trustee has liquidated his assets and made thousands of dollars back that was gonna come to this airport. And I know that the $2,000 you originally were talking about, the legal fees or whatever that he owed from something before I even hit the board, it's been paid back, or it is to be paid back because the trustee is in possession of funds that are gonna come to this airport, and that should cover that cost.
The airport will get no one paid. Yeah, I don't know how the disbursement's gonna
No,
go.
I do know that the trustee gets 11% of whatever they get from selling and getting the money, so the trustee's gonna get 11% of whatever he made off of all that. And then the balance of that money, after it pays for his attorneys, will then go to us, whatever that is.
No, there's multiple creditors there. We're not the only.
We will not get one penny of them, and I think we're talking about things we shouldn't talk about.
No, there was a settlement between the district and the bankruptcy trustee, under which the, settlement it's public record, under which the bankruptcy trustee agreed to, take control of and enter into a release and dismiss 3 different lawsuits that Director Basket had filed, in exchange for the airport waiving further claims against the assets of the estate and allowing trustee to utilize the hangar where all the equipment was located. So it is my understanding, and I'm certainly no bankruptcy expert, but under the agreement that the district entered into with the bankruptcy, that anything left over after the trustee fees, auction fees, etc., will be dispersed to creditors other than the district itself.
Because the district, they negotiated that out.
Correct.
You're saying. Okay, because the normal procedure would be that the largest creditor gets the largest percentage. And on down based on that.
I agree with that.
Okay. So then he doesn't owe anything more to the airport at this point as a result of that. So then he's free and clear of that. And so I guess the only thing that's holding up here is that there has to be a 4/5 vote, because that's what this hangar rules say on here. And that the previous eviction must be reimbursed the district. Well, he did reimburse the district. So once my that affiliated with the previous eviction tenant and he's not affiliated with anybody else. So basically down to a 4/5 vote is to allow him to be able to be on this waiting list to be able to get his hangar back. Is that where we're at?
I know to be on the hanger wait list.
To get on the hangar wait list, right? Because everything else has been satisfied. It's just a 4/5 vote is what we're looking
To
for.
put them on the hanger. Wait list.
The 4/5 vote gives the board approval for him to go on the hangar wait list if he otherwise meets the requirements, such as having.
Can Director Basket even vote on that when he's directly relieved?
No, that would be a conflict.
So there would be no way, there's no way feasible to get a fourth.
No, we still have 4-0, it's the same thing as 4/5.
Yes, I understand.
So anyway, I put the motion out.
So, 4/5 vote is what this here says.
Correct.
So that means now that if we eliminate him from the voting, then it should be down to a 3/4
No,
vote.
you're changing
Is
this.
what it should be done.
You're changing that.
No, It's not, then he stays on, then he's got no objection, I don't see why he couldn't vote then.
I'm not the best at math, which is why I became a lawyer, but, I think 3 out of 4, it's not the same as, it's not the same as 4/5, it's not the same percentage. I think you would still need 4 votes under the code as written.
Make a minor comment, as I said a little earlier, there was no reason for it. The eviction had no reason, so.
But wait, no, my comment is, why is he not voting?
Because there's a conflict of interest.
Who says who?
Conflict of interest codes. The directors cannot vote on the items that they are directly financially interested in.
There's one other thing too, is he doesn't have a plan. Do you have a plan?
Yes.
No.
Well, the vote of the board, 4 votes from the board, that is the step for him to go back on the hand wait list if he otherwise meets the requirements. So he would have to demonstrate ownership of the plane and the other things he required to get on the wait list. It isn't necessary, you are not approving that he otherwise meets the requirements of qualifications. It's just you have to make that vote to make him eligible to go on the wait list.
I will second Chuck's motion.
Okay, so it comes down to a personal vendetta at this point. And Steve votes no, then that's that, huh? Is that what we're down to? Because he's made disparaging comments
we need to
against you, and you've made disparaging comments against him in this open forum. And we've had to sit through this. I really want to put this behind us.
What disparaging comments have I made?
You cussed at him, I believe.
I believe that you're mistaken.
Okay.
Let's bring this to a vote, let's put this thing to bed and be done with it. I think it's got to be what, would this be a roll call vote?
It's gonna be a roll call vote. Yeah. Let's go ahead and start on Steve.
Director Blunt,
No.
Director Adams,
No,
Director Morano,
No.
Director Clayton,
Yes,
Director Basket,
who can't vote because of a conflict.
Okay. Moving on to item number 9. I think we have item 8. Oh, sorry. We have item number 8, authorization for the president and secretary to execute the First Amendment of lease agreement between the district and the United States of America for the office space lease for the Transportation Security Administration located at 3249 Terminal Drive, San Maria, California, 1941.
Carrie, you want to update the tables?
yeah, thank you, Mr. President. This is an item, that we have to bring forward, from the, TSA. They have, recently, renegotiated their lease. We did approve their lease for the upcoming next 10 years. This one, in the initial, negotiation, they put in, an amount for improvements that were to be done. We now have invoices that that have been submitted. The first one is on here in Amendment 1, and, the rent has been lowered, and we are, asking for approval to, authorize this amendment of the TSA.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Okay, I'm sorry, who seconded?
Dirty basket.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item number 9, discussion and direction to staff regarding 1 staff member and 1 director to attend the Court UAS Summit to be held August 15th to the 16th, 2023 in Old Town Alexandria, Virginia.
So this is a conference on, stated in the title. I defer to Director Baskin if you'd like to provide additional details.
The conference is an international conference on the growing threat and use of drones or UAVs in terrorist acts, in other events, whether they're nice benign ones or whether the use to destroy aircraft, people, and things. And I recommend that I go. I've had a little bit of background in it, and recommend that staff member go. To be the choice of Martin. And it's we learn from what's happening in other countries. Almost all the federal government agencies are there. This is a national and international threat. And a couple of years ago, there was a movie written, the script written about Salina Airport, the DC-10 tanker landing for a bad guy with a dark drone. Taking down a DC-10, flaming balls of what we call boiling liquid vapor out there, people screaming and parts happens because of drones. A small drone can take down a large aircraft. Because of our security and increasing insecurity in the nation, but security here, I propose that I go and a choice body, Martin goes there. Hopefully Martin goes.
Unfortunately, I have a conflict that same week.
But you can vote somebody to go. Very, very knowledgeable. I sat there at the same table with people in Israel who are having trouble with drones. They don't hear too much about. The head of the Turkish security agencies and their trouble with drones and how they're handling that. And while we're a fairly small airport, and quite hopefully a quiet airport for some time to come, the danger is here, it's in the nation, and there's bad actors in this nation who would like to do that. So that's my recommendation. I'll make a motion to approve.
I second it.
Do we, yeah, that's a business discussion. Do we have a breakdown on costs?
We can provide that for you. I believe registration is something like 1,400-1,500.
I don't think, the drones, I understand Dave's concern, but the problem is we have no jurisdictions over drones. We're not the police, we're not the army, we have nothing to do. It's kind of, with the information we're gonna get, we can't do anything with it. So,
To answer the president's question, unfortunately, and we think we worded this little because we wanted to get it on the agenda because time is not to put Radhika under the bus, but she was gone this week. So we weren't able to provide you with the normal budget that we do for an item like this. So if you choose to approve it, we will certainly provide that for you for consideration.
What Director Brown said is partly correct. And we also have the choice right now, put our heads in the sand, ignore it, hope somebody else takes care of it. And have a possible disaster on our hands, or be more informed about what we can and cannot do. The rules are changing about what we can do, what law enforcement can do, what power is handed down from the federal government to local agency to deal with these things.
Have you gone to this conference before?
Yes.
Can you give me a little more information on what exactly is covered?
Yes, I'll give you a start. I was there about before COVID. First slide on the presentation, 2-day presentation. The speaker puts up a PowerPoint. There are about 300 people in the audience, nations from all over the world. Every federal agency you think of, probably a few you don't think of sitting there. And on the slide number 1 is approach.
What?
Approach plate. Approach plate is used by pilots for instrument functions. And the speaker said, who recognizes this? About a third of the people raised their hands. But this is where a dark drone is going to hit an aircraft coming in. Approach plate is what we have at Salina Airport. The outer marker, the inner markers, all those things. And here's how it's going to be done. It's going to be done in a way whereby there'll be a dark drone. Nobody can intercept it because it doesn't send or receive signals. It's all internal. And this will be a disaster. It's time to meet an incoming airliner. Right now, we don't have any airliners, unfortunately, but this is the beginning of it. And by the way, the reason for this being such a problem and such a slow problem to resolve is called the Federal Aviation Agency and the rules that they're going through. And I personally call the FAA guy who's working on the rules for these things. We can get more educated about it, be aware of it, or we can ignore it, put our heads in the sand. There was also other examples of drones being used. In military operations and civil operations, if you remember about 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, the drone took out a big chunk of the oil refineries in Saudi Arabia. So those things are going back and forth. There have been reports after reports after reports of major airlines, including LAX, having drones nearby and near misses. We've had collisions between drones and aircraft. Most aircraft come into a hover or come into concentration at airports. very low likelihood of being hit at 30,000 feet. But at airports, when we are in an airport, we should be have knowledge, know what we can do to be safer. Whether or not we have the authority to go out and shoot down a drone is different than knowing about it, how to detect them, and how to make people aware. We do. They don't want, well, are you open to a call about a drone? Tom? Okay.
Isn't there no fly zone over this thing for drones? No drone can fly over this, so if there is a drone flying over, don't we have permission to take it out of the sky?
It's because it's considered an aircraft.
It's like Homeland Security, military.
It's actually, it's actually a felony.
We have no jurisdiction over it.
It's a felony to even throw a rock at it.
And so it can just disrupt our planes coming and going.
No, not legally, but we have no authority.
Question comes down to, should we go more knowledgeable about what's going on with an update or not?
Knowledge is not going to do anything.
So that's it.
My opinion.
No, vote for second or not? So,
I'll second it.
okay.
Director Brown?
No.
Director Adams?
No.
President Moreno?
Yes.
Director Clayton?
Yes.
Director Bennett?
Yes.
Offer just discussion, direction staff, then I think what, we have the direction from the board to go ahead and move forward with this process. And if we need to, we bring back some sort of like a deviation or something else necessary.
I can also see sending Tom up to Washington DC
Well-
to change the rules on that.
So I would like the staff to go and come back with a report and figure out if it's actually worth our time for future years. So,
I will give you.
President Moreno, would you be available to do that?
when is this? August 15th and 16th? Yeah, I think I might be able to.
Okay, look at that.
So your next meeting will come back with a proper budget for your consideration.
And
Then
then,
you might want to do it rather than have director and staff as two directors.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It sounds like you're talking about having two directors attending. Or, do you know?
And it's approaching pretty quick. It's only a month away now.
Yeah.
So we, yeah,
I think it would be fine to go ahead and make the arrangements and then bring it back for formal approval at the next meeting.
Okay, let's go ahead and take we'll do a 10-minute break and then we'll go into closed session.
Yeah, that's just need to get that, this, something else.
We exit closed session with no reportable actions. Moving on to item number 11, director's comments. David Sullivan.
story.
He said he heard that we know that people can.
Okay, I guess let's start. Stephen, your director's comments.
Three things I want to clarify. One is, I've never called the record basket anything, in this thing. I've never cussed in this room. And I've never had any legal action that I have started that's cost the district a dime. That's all.
I'm gonna have no comment this evening.
Outside of comments?
No comment. I usually have comments and I've got some tonight, of course. Have a different view than the Richard Brown, but talked about dome defense. And I think we should be there and know what the dangers are, the safety of this airport. And energy, the RFP, do you have any update on the RFP going out for energy review, Martin?
Yeah, we do.
Not yet, okay. And then I believe, talking to various people on this airport, I think it's time for new owner-built hangars, phase 2. And the space out there to build, those are some of the best hangars on this airport. Eventually, the airport owns them at no cost essentially. And after 30, 40 years, a lot of our current hangars are 40 years old and need some maintenance. But I think new owner-built hangars, new program for that. And I'll volunteer to be the board coordinator to get that started. So that's my comment.
Make a motion, we adjourn. Second. All in favor? Aye.
We got that.
Yeah,